to make the electuary of the Theriac of Andromachus. This recipe brought to us by Galen, passed down through the ages. I am reading specifically from the Antidotarium Bononiense, published in 1766, but according to the edition, this text is basically the same as the first edition that was from 1570. There are several different versions of this recipe. I am just using this one because it's the easiest to read. And it starts out with the 3 compound ingredients that we will jump to separate recipes for. The Trochiscorum Scilliticorum de Vipera, atque Trochiscorum de Hedychroi. Take 6 ounces of each of these groups of Trochisci, that's lozenges, of Scilliticorum, that's of chickpeas, de Vipera, viper's meat, and Hedychroi. Hedychroi is like sweet balsamic ointment. So we have to look elsewhere for those recipes. First, the recipe for Trochisci Hedychroi. Take Sumitatum majoranae, mari cretici, radicum asari, aspalati, dehis anna drachmas duas. That means take all of these 4 things, mix them in equal parts, and then take from that mixture just 2 drachmas. But what are we mixing? We're mixing sumitatum majoranae. That's marjoram tops. And Cretan marl, Cretan marus, and radicum asari, that is a wild ginger root of the Chinese variety, and aspalati, that's rooibos, like the red tea. So take aspalati, I guess the leaves or the root, not quite sure. Anyways, you're going to mix those together and then take 2 drams, and that you separate, and that's your first lot that you're going to combine with some more ingredients. This second lot, you're going to mix all these together. You're going to mix calami aromatici, schoenanti, costi, radicum valerianae, Special-Balsami, opobalsami, et cinnamoni. Right, mixing together aromatic calamus, that's sweet flag. Schoenanthus is lemongrass or geranium grass, or called camel grass in some parts. Costi, costus, that is an Eastern medicinal herb known as quid in Ayurvedic medicine, or in Chinese medicine, I believe it's called mu xiang. And, of course, valerian root, Special-Balsamic, that's the dried wood of the balm of Gilead, the Comifera mechanensis, or perhaps Comifera opobalsamum, or Comifera gileanensis, depending on what varietal you choose, as well as opobalsami, that is the traditional balm of Gilead, i.e. the resin. And then cinnamon, right? Cinnamon. Take these, mix them together in equal parts, and then take 3 drams of that and set it aside, and that's your second lot. And for your third lot, you're going to take malabatri, spicae nardi, croci orientalis, casiae lignei. It's myrrhae, right? Malabar, spikenard, croci orientalis, the oriental crocus type of flower, like a lily. The seeds are what we get saffron from, saffron seeds. In Cassiae lignae, cassia wood, along with myrrh, good old myrrh. The what? The myrrh. Take all these, mix them together, and take 6 drachmas of that. And then take 1.5 ounces, unciam unam et semis, de amomi enucleati, cardamom pods, the centers of cardamom. And then these are separate lots, and then a single drachm of mastiques. That's special mastic pine resin from special pine trees growing on Kilkos, the island. And then what are you going to do with all of this? Pulverisata omnia subtiliter, ac rite permixta, subige cum sufficiente quantitate vini malvatici, et fiant Trochisci sive pastili in umbra exicandi et custodiendi, nam pro compositione Theriacae. You're going to, with all of these things sufficiently mixed, finely powdered together and properly mixed, put it beneath a sufficient quantity of the best Malvatic wine, and let this then be made into trochis, into lozenges or pastules, and let it dry in the shade, and guard it well, for it is for the making of Theriac. So what was all that? That was just the recipe for Trochiscorum Hedychroi, 1 compound ingredient. Now we will scroll down through this section of the book until we find Trochisci. Trochisci ad urinae ardorum. Wow. Trochisci de Murai. Here it is. Trochisci de Vipera. Viper lozenges. For these, we're going to take carnis viperinae cum aneto et sale in aqua pluvia decoctae et aspinis mundatae incias octo. 8 ounces of viper's meat that's been boiled in rainwater along with dill and salt. And you're going to add to that 2 ounces of panis triticei albissimi biscocti. 2 ounces of white wheat biscuits. Condundator caro viperina in pila marmorea, et sensum inspergatur panis subtiliter pulverisatus. Affundendo decocti viperarum. Yeah, because you've got these other jars just full of vipers, sitting on juice. You got to get more viper juice, decoction of the vipers, to pour that over. Quantitatem sufficientum ut fiat massa ex qua e fermentor secundum artem Trochisci in umbra sicandi et oleo nucis moscatae injugenti. You are going to take the viper's flesh, and it is to be pounded into a little ball inside, in particular, a marble bowl in pila marmorea, because you don't want that viper flesh reacting with other materials. It's got to be marble. It sends him, and finely powdered bread is then gradually sprinkled over top of it. And then a sufficient quantity of your decoction of viper is to be poured over that in order to form a mass from which the lozenges are then formed according to the art of the Trochiscorum. And this is to be dried in the shade and then anointed with oleo nucis moscatae, with nutmeg oil, anointed. All right, and usus in malignis febribus et cutaneis morbis, ad compositionem Theriacae potissimum requiriuntur. Right, this can be used to treat particularly bad fevers. It can be used to treat skin disease, and it is most particularly required for the making of Theriac. A typical dose is from a single scruple to half a drachm. That was the recipe for Trochiscorum de Vipera. And the last compound recipe before we continue reading the Theriac is going to be Trochiscorum Scilliticorum. Right, lozenges of chickpeas. This one's rather simple. Recipe scile assatae et ad mulitium coctae libram unum. Take 1 pound of chickpeas, roasted, cooked just enough to where they're starting to get soft. And then add to this uncias octo farinae orobi cribratae. Add to this 8 ounces of well-sifted Orobian flour. It's got to be flour from this particular place. Okay, similarly to the other Trochisci, this is going to be subingantur omnia simul ad perfecta mixtionem et fiat massa sive pasta supra tabulum ligneo cilindro tenuanda et in rhomboidales trociscos scindenda. Theriacae consciendae destinare solent, affectibus etiam frigidis capitis, thoracis et ventriculi opem ferunt, dosis ad drachma, semis ad drachmam unam. All right, for the making of the Trochisci Scillitici, the chickpea lozenges, you're going to put together all the ingredients into a perfect mixture so that it becomes a single mass, or a thick paste that is then thinned on a board, rolled beneath a cylindrical, a wooden roller, like a rolling pin. And this is divided into rhomboidal lozenges and then cut up. These are usually made just for the preparation of the Theriac, but they can help with the common cold of the head, or of the chest, or of the stomach. The dose is from a single drachm up to 1. All right. Are you still with me? So far, we have covered the first 3 compound ingredients for the Theriac. I will now continue with the rest of the recipe. So, take your 6 ounces of your chickpea lozenges, your Vipera lozenges, and your Hedychroi lozenges. Add to this, equally mixed together, 3 ounces of piperis longi, opii tabaci, et cimamomi. All right, it's going to be long peppers, opium from Thebes, not just any kind, it's got to be the Theban variety, and cinnamon. Mix these together, take 3 ounces of that, and set that aside as your second lot. For the third lot, you're going to take radicum irios illyricae, rosarum rubrarum, succi glycerizae, opobalsami, seminum buniados, vel napi, sumitatum scortii, et agarici. Mix all of these together. What are we mixing? For our third lot, we're going to be mixing roots of the Illyrian iris, and then red rose petals, dried up. And then glycerizae succi, licorice juice, licorice extract. Opobalsami, right, resin from the balm of Gilead. And then seminum buniandos, well, napi. This is going to be turnip seeds. And mix, along with that, sumitatum scordii, the top of the Teucrium scordium, the water germander, and fly agaric mushrooms. Yes. Take all of these, mix them in equal parts, and then set aside unciam unam et semis, 1.5 ounces. for the third lot. For the fourth lot, we're going to take Myrrhae, Costi, Croci orientalis, Cassiae lignei, Spicae nardi, Schoenanti, Piperis nigri, Turis, Sumitatum dictamini cretici, Crapontici, Comarum stoicados, Sumitatum marubii, Sumitatum calamintae montanae, Seminum Petroselini Macedonici, Radicum Pentaphyllii, Radicum Zinziberis, Terebintinae Cypriae. Ana drachmas 6. Mix all of these together, 6 drachms each of myrrh, costus, again this is cuti or mutiang, croci orientalis, saffron, cassia lignei, acacia wood, spicae nardi, Indian spikenard or Indian valerian, Schoenanti. Schoenanti is, lemongrass, camel grass, geranium grass. Black pepper, frankincense, the tops of the Cretan dictaminus, as well as the tops of the raponticus, the marrow root. Comarum stoicados, the hairs of the Spanish lavender plant, the Lavandula stoicas. The tops of the marubini, the marubium, or horehound in English, and as well as the calaminth, the grand flowering calaminth of the mountain. All right. Seminum petroleslini macedoni, Macedonian parsley seed, and roots of the cinquefoil, or the potentia, it's called, as well as ginger root, good old Zinziberis ginger, for that zing. And you're going to take Cyprian turpentine, terebintinae Cypriae, Cyprian turpentine. Combine all this together in equal parts, and then take 6 drachms of that. Then for our next lot in the Theriac, we're going to take Sumitatum polii montani, Camai pitios, Nardi Celticae, Amomi enuncleati, Lacrimae sturiacis, Radicum meo atamantici, Sumitatum Camaedrios, Radicum fu pontici, id est Valerianae, Terrae lemniae, Foliorum malabatri, Calcidis ustae, Radicum gentianae, Gumi arabici, Suci acaciae, Suci hippocystidis, Carpul-balsami, Cardamomi minoris enucleati, as well as Seminum anisi, Foiniculi, Seselios, Amios, Traspeos, et atque Comarum hyperici, et Sagapeni, Ana unciam semis, half an ounce each of the tops of the... Am I in the right spot here? No, I'm not. Myrrh. We're starting with myrrh. Where's the myrrh? Yes, myrrh and costus and oriental crocus, also known as saffron, cassia lignei, Indian spikenard, Schoenanti. I think I already read this. Yeah, black pepper. Oops. We are starting here. Sumitatum polii montani. The tops of the polyamos, as well as the ground pine, the Chamaepitios, Celtic spikenard, the Gallic type, cardamom pits, Lacrimae sturcis, that's going to be resin from Styrax officinalis, or benzoin resin, basically, like in incense. Radicum meo atamantiki. That's going to be roots of the spignel, or bearwort, as well as sumitatum camydrios, tops of the Teucrian camydris, the wall germander. Roots of the Pontic valerian, Lemnian clay, special type of healing earth, because people would consume clay for medicinal reasons. You still can. Some cultures do. Foliora malabatri, Malabar leaves. Calcitidis ustai, that's used coals, coal ash, burnt up coals. Radicum gentianae, gentian root. This was bitterwort, or yellow gentian. As well as gum arabic, something we recognize. Juice of the acacia. Juice of the hippokistis, that's the yellow rock rose. Carpobalsami, that's the dried fruit coming from the Comifera balsamodendron, the tree which yields the balm of Gilead again. So the dried fruit from that. Cardamome minoris nucleati, smaller pits of cardamom seeds, as well as several types of seeds, from anise, from fennel, from the moon carrot, seseli, from the ammi, the large bullwort, and the Puccinia tlaspeos. These are going to be referred to as seeds, but this is spores from a particular kind of fungus. Yes, the spores of the dyer's woad rust in modern parlance. I had to look it up. Okay, and then we're going to take Comarum hyperici. That's the hairs of the Hypericum, St. John's wort. Yes. Sagapeni, the sagapen, the bladder seed. Okay, take all of these, mix them in equal parts, and then set aside just half an ounce for your next lot. Moving on to the next and final lot, we're going to take Radicum aristolochiae tenuis, Castorei, Bituminum Judaici, Seminum Dauci Cretici, Comarum Centaurii minoris, Opopanacis, et Galbani, ana drachmas duas. All right, we're going to mix together 2 drams each of Radicum aristolochiae, the thin roots of the birthwort, as well as Castoreum, beaver musk, Castorii. What is it with Castoreum? I think it's because beavers would consume willow bark, which has quercetin in it, from which aspirin is derived. So this was like concentrated form of aspirin coming from beaver musk. Perhaps that's what the Castoreum was all about. All right, Judean bitumen, asphalt from Judah. Seeds of the Cretan daucus plant, the wild carrot, I believe, yes. Yes, wild carrot it was. And Comarum centaurii minoris, the hairs of the lesser centaurea, or star thistle flower. As well as Opopanacis, the Opopanax sweet myrrh, or perhaps not the modern sweet myrrh, but this could have been the Opopanax chirorium, wild mustard seed. Need a second opinion to look up that one. And then Galbanum. This is the modern Lacipitium gallicum, Galbanum species. Take these and mix them in equal parts, and then you're going to take 2 drams of that. And you're going to take all of your lots of all of these various things mixed and diluted, and then combine those together. And then take vini malvatici optimi, quantum satis est pro succis et lacrimis dissolvendis. Atque melis optimi despumati, libras quindecim. After all this, you're going to take a sufficient quantity of the most excellent Malvetican wine, just enough to dissolve together all the juices and the resins, and add to this an amount of the very best honey that's been skimmed off. So you have just the best quality honey, and you should use about 15 pounds of honey to dissolve and combine together all of this to create your Theriac electuary. All right, he says, conficiantur solemni ritu in archigymnasio a societate pharmacopoiorum coram universo nostro collegio legitime convocato, privatem Theriacam componere nemini jus esto. Let it be decreed by solemn right in this most highest school of the College of Pharmacists, having lawfully convened the whole of our society, that no man should have the right to compose a Theriac in private. And it says here, venenantis animalium ictibus corruptione humorum ai malignitati restitit, pestilentiales halitus emendat, menses quiet, foetum mortuum pellit, dolores serat, verbes necat, flatus discutit, vomitum et alvi fluxus compescit, cephalagiae quoque vertigini, paralysi, convulsioni, ventriculi imbecillitati, multisque aliis morbis prudenter adhibita sumo est auxilio. Dosis a scrupulo uno ad drachmam unam. It says this fights back against the corruption of malignancy of the humors from the bites of poisonous animals. It corrects the pestilential breath. It incites menstruation. It can expel a dead fetus. It will calm pains, kill worms, disperses flatulence. It will control vomiting and bowel movements. It is also of the greatest help in headaches, in vertigo, in paralysis, convulsions, weakness of the stomach, and many other diseases when used judiciously. The dose taken from a single scruple to a drachm. Wow. And before I leave you, I just wanted to briefly cover in this other book. Where are we? Here we are. This is the exact same recipe given in Pharmacopoeia seu Antidotarium Messaniense, compiled by Giovanni Batista Cortesi here in 1629. All right. And he has a lot more to say about the Theriac. Look at all this. Look at what he says. Morsibus ferarum et viperarum medetur, venenis ad versatur, capitis doloribus, vertiginibus, aureum gravitati, comitentialibus, attonitis, resolutis, oculorum hebetudinibus, voci amisae, asthmaticis, tussi antiqua et recenti, sanguinem spumdentibus, aegre excreantibus, ventriculi imbecillitutinatibus, et inflationibus, doloribus concilis iliosis, cholericis, celiacis, hystericis opitularetur, indoratum lienem liquefacit, calculos in renibus comminuit, urinae difficultati, et vesicae ulceribus medetur, febrium horroribus et rigoribus hydropicis et elephantia laborantibus exuliatur. Menstrua quiet, foetum mortuum excutit, dolores arthriticos sedat, corporis non modo sed et animi morbos praestant, melancholicis itaque lympaticis, et id genus aliis maliis iugitor data succurit. In pestifera lue nihil ea praestantius inveniri potest. For the lightning of pestilences, there is truly nothing which can be found to be better than this. Am I going to translate all that? You really, really want me to? Okay. Fine. Morsibus ferarum. It heals the bites of wild animals and vipers. It counteracts poisons, headaches, dizziness, heaviness of the ears, convulsions, stupor, laziness, dullness of the eyes, loss of the voice. It can help with asthma, with both old and new coughs, spitting of blood, painful excrement, weakness of the stomach, and bloating. It is prescribed for colic, for ileus, or for choleric, or for celiac, and hysterical pains. It can soften a hardened spleen. It can break up the stones in the kidneys. It can heal urinary and bladder infections. It helps those who are afflicted with fevers and with chills, with dropsy, and with elephantiasis. It can incite menstruation. It can eject a dead fetus. It will soothe arthritic pains. It will heal not only physical, but also mental diseases. Yes, it therefore can help melancholic lymphatics and other diseases of that kind when regularly taken. Truly nothing more excellent can be found for the lightning of pestilences. Si quis optat videre ea omnia, quae dici possunt de Theriaca, adeat librum nostrum miscellaneorum decade, octo tracti nonum. Hoc tamen unum hoc lociado, quod est de aetate ipsius Theriacae, de qua Avicennas librum quinque summa unum tractum unum, de Theriaca ubi ilius aetates distinctae scripsit, ad hunc modum locutus est. If anyone wishes to see all that can be said about the Theriac, then let him go to our book, the Miscellanea, the Miscellaneorum, in the eighth volume in the 9th tractate. However, I will add one more thing in this place, which is to be said about the age of the Theriac, its age of efficacy, its shelf life, if you will. About which Avicenna, in his book, 5th book, first summary, first tractate of the Theriac, he wrote of his ages separately, and he spoke in such a manner. Theriacae quidem adsunt infantia et pubertas et adolescentia et senectutus. Et mors, et sit infans post sex menses, deinde incipit in pubertate, et augmento, usque ad tempus in quostat per decem annos in regionibus calidis, et viginti annos in regionibus frigidis. Deinde stat, aut decem annis, aut vigenti, deinde declinat, aut post viginti annos, aut post quadraginta annos, deinde spoliatur virtute Theriacae, aut post quadraginta annos, aut post sexaginta, et sit una confectionem declinata a gradu Theriacae, haec Avicennas. These words are from Avicenna. He says, of the Theriac there is indeed, it has a childhood, a puberty, and adolescence, old age, and death. Let it be a child for the first 6 months, and then after this it begins its puberty and growth, until the time when it stands for 10 years in hot regions, or for 20 years in colder regions. And so it stands for 10 or for 20 years, and then it begins to decline after 20 or after 40 years. Then it is robbed of its power after either 40 or after 60 years. And so after this time, the confection has declined from the degree of the Theriac. These things are from Avicenna. Siquis robur et valitudinem Theriacae cognoscere velit ex Galeni sententia, opus est medicamentum aliquod per purgans quipiam porrigere, deinde statim Theriacam exhibere. Nam si valida, vigensque ad huc fuerit, nulla tenus ventirem purgare refinit, siquidem medicamenti solventis facultas ab antidoti potentia enervatur. Well, if someone wants to know the validity and the strength of a given Theriac, according to the opinion of Galen, then it is necessary to administer first some purging medicine to a person. Purging medicine is like, a laxative. Give them a purging medicine, and then immediately afterwards administer to them the Theriac. For if it is strong and still in force, then it will prevent the bowels from being purged and cleansed, as the power of the laxative medicine is immediately undone by the power of the antidote. Non omnibus eadem offertur quantitas, nec eodum semper liquore dissoluitur. Verum antidoto et liquore differentur ultimur. Eius ut alterius pondus et convenientiam ex affectum diversitate mentientes. Solet tamen communiter exhibere a scrupulum, unum usque ad drachum tres, non debet compinari intra 6 menses, nisi medicus in impera verit. Haec de pulcherrima et non satis laudata antidoto Theriaca Andromachi viri excellentissimi incomponentis medicamentis, et qui universa medicorum schola magnam gratiam referret debet. Unio nunc ad aliam Theriacam. Okay, after all of that, then he's so vague. He's so vague about the dosage and usage. Just makes you question. Non omnibus eadem offuntur quantitas. The same quantity is not to be given to all, nor is it always to be dissolved within the same liquid. But we use the antidote and the liquid differently, measuring its weight as to the other, and its suitability based on the difference of affections. However, it is usually dosed somewhere between 1 scruple up to 3 drachms. And this dose must not be repeated within 6 months' time, not unless the physician will have ordered it. The foregoing has all been said about the most beautiful and not sufficiently praised enough antidote of the Theriac of Andromachus, a man of utmost excellence in compounding medicines, and to whom the whole school of physicians owes a great debt of gratitude. Now we come to another Theriac. All right, and once again, all of that jazz was from Giovanni Batista Cortesi as an addendum to the recipe for the Theriac of Galen, given in the Antidotarium Bononiensi, which is what I first read. Wow, are you still with me? This was totally random and rambling and a little stream of consciousness. But I want to take these notes and this knowledge and turn it into some sort of a presentation about these ingredients, and probably throw in, pictures of the roots of the herbs and the various ingredients, so you get an idea. Thanks for joining me on a deep dive down into the recipe for Theriac, at least as given in Latin. Gratias pro spectantibus. Valete, amici.